Braza? Mr. Hare? We can go. We are off to the races, huh? Let's do it. Good evening, everyone. Okay, big meeting this evening. We're going to start with the same orders of, same couple of items just to get them out of the way at the top of the meeting. First things first, there's two cameras right there. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed, just so you are aware. Second, now while I'm talking is an ideal time to pull out your cell phone and either put it on silent or put it on vibrate. Please and thank you. Third, any public comments need to be made from the podium. They need to begin with your name and the block of your residence, and they need to be kept to 3 minutes in length. I would additionally recommend, given this evening's meeting, that we turn a particular eye towards civility in our comments this evening. I have a lot of faith in all of you, and so we'll just let respect carry the day. With that dispensed with, as you are willing and able, please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Also, my apologies, Mr. Harris, if you would please kick us off by calling the roll of members.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Arroyo.
Here.
Ms. Baker.
Here.
Mr. Colexty.
Here.
Ms. Craig.
Here.
Ms. Diaz.
Here.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Here. Next, we have approval of the minutes for the January 25th, 2022, January 27th, 2022, and February 1st, 2022 meetings.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Council comments on the minutes. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Baker.
Aye.
Mr. Colexty.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. That brings us to proclamations, honors, awards, and resolutions. Pardon me. And resolutions of recognition. So before we get to what is, pardon me while I fiddle with this, before we get to what is on the agenda, we are going to take a moment here to recognize someone who was kind enough to visit us again. If Councilor Xavier Garcia Molina would please come to the podium and be recognized. Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is a whole lot of pomp and circumstance, and we did give you, I think, a send-off at the last meeting on the 11th. But as we did not have time to do it then, I wanted to take the time to recognize you at this meeting and thank you for all of your service to the Council of the City of Lancaster and your ongoing service to the community. We can already see all the ways you're going to continue to stay engaged. And so we have prepared for you this lovely plaque, which I will now descend and present to you in honor of your service. You may now have 3 minutes.
Cool, thanks. I won't take your 3 minutes. I didn't expect this today coming in, but I just want to express my gratitude to you all for being amazing colleagues and support systems while I was on council. And thank you so much to the community that had faith in me and my ability to lead. I think doing so is a privilege, and I'm excited to see what kind of leadership the next person brings on. And I'm grateful to have had that opportunity to connect with my neighbors in different ways that I wouldn't have had to beforehand. And I'm excited to see what doing community work on this side looks like now. So thank you so much.
Here. Excellent. Thank you again, Councilor Garcia Molina. I'll take a moment since we're all here. If other councilors want to, if other councilors want to take this moment to lavish unprepared praise on Councilor Garcia Molina, they may do so now.
Council President,
Please.
I'll take a moment, completely unprepared. I know that I mentioned this before, but it was a pleasure to serve with you, and the community is richer and better to have you in it, no matter which way that you choose to lead, because you are a leader no matter where you are sitting. And thank you for all that you taught me and during our times, both running and serving together. Thank you.
Council President. Mr. Garcia Molina, good to see you in the audience, and I'm actually surprised that you snuck in here and sat in the audience back there, but it was a pleasure to serve with you, and just to add to my comments as before, I'm extremely proud of you, and I think you're going to have a great impact no matter what title you have in front of your name, and excited to see the great things that you're going to do, so thank you for your service.
All right. Thank you, and thank you for enduring that, Zavi. We appreciate you. Okay, we go now to Council Resolution Number 13, 2022. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster designating February 2022 as Black History Month in the City of Lancaster and praising historical efforts for African American suffrage and new efforts to preserve the right to vote.
Motion
To approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We do one of these to commemorate Black History Month every year. This year's resolution, the text is devoted primarily to the efforts that went into securing the right to vote, particularly for African Americans in this nation, and the, shall we say, unfortunate relevance of those efforts to the modern day. And so just want to take a moment to recognize all those who have come before to fight for the right to vote, for universal suffrage for all peoples in this country, and those who are doing this work now. Council comments. From the public. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Bakay.
Aye.
Mr. Kolexny.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waydell.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. That brings us to the first public comment period reserved for those citizens who have contacted the clerk prior to the meeting. Do we have any tonight, Mr. Harris?
Yes, we do, Mr. President. The first would be David Cazares.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hello, my name is David Cazares. I'm a senior at Franklin and Marshall College, and I'm majoring in biology with the hopes of one day becoming a physician. I'm originally from Georgia, but I had the pleasure to transfer to F&M in the year of 2020. I'm grateful for the opportunity that this city has provided for me and everyone else that lives here. I would first like to recognize the diversity of this council and how valuable it is for the residents to relate to the representatives. Today, I wish to advocate for a very special population of individuals in Lancaster City. Undocumented immigrants have made headlines for the past few decades, or specifically dreamers. These undocumented youth are a source of untapped potential. They arrived on their parents' accord, not knowing what challenges they would face here. As a member of this group, I know we make a positive impact in whatever environment we're put in. We're college graduates, business owners, and taxpayers. Cities nationwide foster an environment for growth and positive change. Lancaster does this already, but I hope it can do more. Last month, I met with a local congressman who votes consistently against immigration reform. I sat in on a meeting between a senator of Georgia and his Latino constituents. The message is clear. Immigration reform that would help undocumented immigrants and citizens is at a standstill. My time in Lancaster is now short, so although I cannot provide a resolution to immigration, I can provide you with my perspective. I invite you to further dialogue through a LEAP session sponsored by the Lancaster Community Foundation that I will host in August. A couple of you are soon running for seats in higher government, so I would love to have you all as guests to learn more about the challenges immigrants face. I hope to see some, if not all of you there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, David. David, you said it was August?
August, date pending.
Okay, in August. Excellent. And so just all details, location, et cetera, that time
I'll
is
come
pending.
back.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you. Please do come back.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for, it's very easy as an elected official to focus in on only those people who can vote for you or vote to elect you to an office. And of course, that is not the whole of the people that are relying on you as a community. So thank you for taking the time this evening to remind you of that. And I do hope that we will all see you in August.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments, Mr. Harris?
We do not, Mr. President.
Excellent. That brings us to reports requested by council.
We have none tonight, Mr. President.
I don't know what that was. Okay. That brings us to reports of committees of council meetings held way back on February 7th. We will begin with the Public Safety Committee. Councilor Diaz.
Yes, the Public Safety Committee met yesterday, and the resolution number 11, 2022 will come up at the legislation agenda.
Thank you, Councilor Diaz. Public Works, Councilor Calixte.
Thank you, Council President. The Public Works Committee met last evening to discuss a resolution number 11, 2022, and also heard a presentation from the Director Stephen Campbell for Public Works and about the program for sidewalk and curb repair. That would end my reports, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Calixte. Economic Development, Councilor Arroyo.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Yesterday, the Economic Development Committee did meet. I provided a brief update on the request for proposal for compliance services that are related to the American Rescue Plan Act. I mentioned that we plan on putting together a review committee comprised of city staff, myself, and Controller James Reichenbach. And then we also plan to select a compliance firm by the end of February. That concludes my report.
That's excellent news, Councilor Arroyo. Thank you. Finance, Councilor Bakay.
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee met on February 7th. We had 4 items on our agenda. First was Administration Bill Number 2, 2022, amending street meter parking rates. Larry Cohen from the Parking Authority first came to the Finance Committee last month for a preliminary discussion, and since then, Mr. Cohen detailed ways that he's done outreach into the community, including for downtown merchants and the Lancaster City Alliance, as well as engaging the public with newspapers. Tonight, the bill appears on our legislative agenda for a first reading. We next discuss Resolution Number 12, 2022, which is the exoneration of 2021 water and sewer charges for city-owned properties, which is done annually. That will appear later tonight on our legislative agenda for a vote. Next, we heard a presentation on the Maximus fee study by Director of Administrative Services, Patrick Hopkins. The last comprehensive fee study was done in 2009, so it's important that the city has an accurate accounting of the true cost to perform services. At this time, findings from the study are being reviewed by department staff, and we are expected to see an ordinance and related resolutions for proposed fee changes by April. No action was taken last evening. Finally, we were given an update on the plan for financing capital projects. Mr. Hopkins said that a tax and revenue anticipation note would be the easiest option to begin planned 2022 capital improvement projects with the goal of working on longer-term financing later in the year. He anticipates that we will see this come up next month, and again, no action was taken on this at this time. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilor Bakay. Thank you, Councilor Bakay. Councilor Craig, Community Planning.
Thank you, Council President. Community Planning did meet yesterday. We had 3 items on the agenda. One is up for first reading, and that is accepting the dedication of the right-of-way at College Avenue, 210 College Avenue. The second is amending the sewer control plan to include redevelopment at 800 South Queen Street, which will come up later on on the agenda. And we also had a presentation on the update proposed change to the lead hazard control ordinance. This legislation is the enhanced lead safety protection, focusing on those most at risk to protect children with elevated blood levels. As we would all know that negative health effects of lead have no cure and are not reversible. These changes will address lead safety, certification, strengthen the response for children with lead poisoning, streamline administration of rental license and inspections, and increase the rental license fee to cover improved lead monitoring. The hope is that this will come to council in March. And that completes our agenda for yesterday. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor Craig. Personnel Committee, Councilor Calixte, one more time.
Thank you, Council President. And the Personnel Committee met last night, February 7, and reviewed nominations to appointment to the Shade Tree Commission and the Planning Commission and the Zoning Hearing Board. That ends my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Calixte. That brings us to our legislative agenda. First, nominations for appointment. Again, Councilor Calixte.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion to appoint Nicholas Myers to the Shade Tree Commission for a term from December 31st, 2021 to December 31st, 2026.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Council comments on the appointment.
Do we want to do those individually or?
Oh, all right. So I would like to make another motion to appoint Miriam Ortega Brown to the Planning Commission for a term from December 31st, 2021 to December 31st, 2025.
Second for both.
Excellent. So we're going to fudge a little and consider those as one motion for both the appointments, for those of you who are playing along at home. So we have a motion and a second. Council comments on the appointments. From the public? Okay. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo?
Aye.
Ms. Beke?
Aye.
Mr. Calixte?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell?
Aye. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to heading B, which, if you have an agenda, is the appointment of a candidate to fill a city council vacancy. Please bear with me for a moment. I know that's the reason that most of you are here this evening. So, brief recap. Effective January 11th, Councilor Xavier Garcia Molina resigned his term on council, which left an unexpired term of about 2 years to be filled. Relevant law governing the operations of the city gives only the guidance that an appointment should be made within 30 days of a person who would otherwise be eligible to hold a seat on city council. 18 years old, a United States citizen, a resident of Lancaster for a year or more prior to the date of the appointment, and as I said, gives us only until February 11th to do that. Over the past month, we have taken in applications in the form of resumes and letters of interest. We received 19, and then 2 persons removed themselves from consideration. We then, given that number of interested parties, held not 1 but 2 meetings to do brief interviews with folks who were interested in taking that seat, many of whom are in the room this evening. First and foremost, thank you. I know in their process, the judges of the Commonwealth Court asked, when selecting a new county commissioner, they ask that the person they select indicate that they would not run for the seat in the future. Council made no such requirement, and I thank all of you for your interest in filling the unexpired term on city council. And I think that any person who is so interested might be so interested because they wish to run, have run, and perhaps will run again. So that was not a disqualifier and is not a matter of consideration. We in fact hope that you will all stay as engaged as possible, and it's my not having the authority to direct this specifically, but it is my sincere urge to the mayor and the chair of the personnel committee that any persons who put themselves forth for consideration for this position be given priority consideration as we go about filling the boards, commissions, and authorities which help make the city function. So that's where we are. Again, thank you very much for your interest. Whether you are an applicant or you have just come to support or be in relationship with someone who has put themselves forward for this, it is not an easy thing to get up and try to project your competence, life experience, and vision in the 8 to 15 minutes that we gave everybody, and to have that sort of broadcast permanently into the ether. It's a process, and it takes a lot of courage. And, you know, I admire anyone self-possessed enough to do that. Okay, so enough of that. The simple logistics of the matter are this. What happens now will function similarly to any other motion that would be made on city council. A councilor may, when I open the floor, make a motion. Another councilor may second that motion. The motion is then open for discussion. That motion would name a particular individual and move to appoint them to the unexpired term on city council. Once discussion has terminated, we will then engage in a roll call vote, as you've seen going down the line up here. You'll notice there are 6 of us. This does not change the threshold for majority because you need to reach more than 50%. Any motion not reaching more than 50% fails. What does that mean? A nomination for appointment that gets 3 votes, but not 4, fails. A nomination that gets 4 votes succeeds. That person would then become the new appointee to city council to fill the unexpired term, provided that then they, in the next 3 days, be sworn in to serve on city council. We will not be doing that this evening. I want to be clear about that now. It will be clear who has been appointed, but their swearing in will take place at a different time, and we will arrange that with the city clerk, and then we will recognize them at the meeting on, February 22nd?
Yes.
Thank you. So, to be clear, the reason we are doing that is because they must be sworn in by the 11th to avoid the legal question of whether we have actually appointed someone to fill the seat by that date. It's not very much time. So, the motion is like any other motion. It takes discussion from members of council and discussion from members of the public. I again urge that we approach this with civility and respect for any and all of the persons who have put themselves forward. I don't actually have a really, I don't have a firm sense, you know, usually we come into these things and we know how generally things go on council on a given night, and there are always some surprises because each of us are individually elected. I will not be making any motions or seconding any motions. I am, just to remove myself from any bias in that process, as it is my job to preside over council in times like these. I will, of course, be asked to vote, but I will be the last to vote. It is up to council members to decide whose nomination they wish to put forward, and it's up to council members if they wish to second any such nominations. With all of that rigmarole, I will finally just say, presuming we are able to appoint someone tonight, which is my distinct preference, though it's possible that council may not arrive there because all things are possible as we have found out the past 2 years living in this world. That being said, once an appointment has been made, I will then provide time, if you are here for only that purpose, for folks to take their leave. So we'll take a brief break and people may exit the room as they wish. You're not required to stay for the rest of the meeting. You are, of course, always welcome here. Okay. I am now opening the floor for nominations for the appointment of a candidate to fill the unexpired term on City Council.
Council President, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Catherine Walsh to City Council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Council comments on the motion?
Council President, after careful consideration of all the applicants, many days of reading over letters of interest, I do believe that Ms. Walsh is qualified, given her background in working with affordable housing and her heart for the care of this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Other council comments,
Council President?
please?
Thank you. First, I want to extend a thank you to all of the applicants who applied for the appointment. I know it's not easy and appreciate all of your courage in stepping up. I believe Ms. Walsh provides the expertise that is needed on council, specifically seeing some of the needs that the city is going to need moving in the future, specifically around housing. And I believe that her expertise is going to be a value add to our council as a body.
Council President,
Councilor Beke.
to agree with Councilor Arroyo in saying that at this moment, based on what challenges lie ahead of us with unprecedented investment in affordable housing that we've made and that decision that we've conscientiously made, I do agree that Ms. Walsh brings the background and experience that will be invaluable in that process. That is to say that professional experience and background is not necessarily a prerequisite for serving on council. But in this instance, we've had the opportunity to look at the background and experience of all applicants. And I do believe that she is a very strong candidate. Thank you.
Council President, thank you. I want everybody to know that this is a really difficult decision. After reading her resume and taking notes from during her interview, and I'm not saying that the other candidates are not qualified, but Mrs. Walsh is qualified to be on council, and one of her experience is related to one of the issues that I have on my platform and that I would like to address while I am during my term on council. So I'm looking forward to working with her. Thank you.
Are there any other council comments? Comments from the public? Mr. Mr. Dastra?
Hello, Tony Dastra, 700 block of New Holland Avenue. It's possible I may be making a fool of myself, but I genuinely do not know the answer to this question right now. And I'm curious to know how many people in the audience might have come here in support of my brother Joey Dastra. If you could potentially just raise your hand, that would be appreciated. Noted. Thank you, and I'd love to talk to every one of you afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dastra.
Hello, my name is Sean Demensick. I live on the 400 block of Fremont Street in Cabbage Hill. Thank you, Council President, for this opportunity to address you. And I'd like to address the Council generally in support of Joey Dastra for the position on the Council. I think that while I certainly trust the Council's ability to recognize the qualifications and professional aptitude of a candidate, I think we also recognize that the Council position, according to the way that our democracy works, is an elected position that can then appoint other appointed positions that sort of require more technical experience. And so as far as someone who has spent a great deal of effort in seeking the support of members of the city and having conversations with them, making relations with them, and being able to represent them, I think that Joey Dastra is an excellent pick. And just to offer a few words on behalf of a few of my housemates here, we live in an intentional community together and invited Joey over to speak to members of the community, and didn't have a particular knowledge of him or preference before him, but he was very active in making sure that he spoke to us during the election, and we were all incredibly impressed by his presentation, by his knowledge of issues around the city, by his commitment to doing the hard work of making those connections and relying primarily on those friendships and that personal knowledge of members of the community in seeking his election. So I'd like to strongly advise on behalf of all of my housemates and those others who attended that meeting and were so impressed with Joey that he be selected for the position. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jessica Lopez, 437 East Marion Street, and I want to follow up with what they're saying when it comes to Mr. Dastra. I believe with Xavier being the one that is stepping down, his replacement should be as progressive as he is, that his replacement should have that element of community to it. I'm not familiar with who Ms. Walsh is. I wasn't at the other proceedings. But I'm definitely familiar with Mr. Dastra. I'm definitely familiar with the fact that he's familiar with our city and that he's familiar with our residents. And the appointment shouldn't be, yes, we need experts on city council. We also need real community members on city council. And we need people who are on the ground level with the people on city council, not just, in the books. It's good to have an expert in the background, but when we're diving through gray areas, we need somebody who's in the middle. And with Joey not being on either party, it also makes sense that he would be a good fit for that city council seat. He's the third person, and they should be represented as well. They're part of this city, and he especially is part of this city, so I believe that he should be taken into higher consideration in that mannerism as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Heidi Castillo. I live at 519 Spruce Street. City Council has made a point that the person who they have chosen to put forward has an experience in housing, or what you call affordable housing. does that mean that this person is also practicing affordable housing or just the experience? Because I think that is important. Is somebody practicing affordable housing, any of the nominees?
Thank you.
Hello, my name is John Paul West. I also live on the 400 block Fremont Street. I apologize for my lack of good dress. I came right off of my construction job. Am I allowed to ask you questions that you would respond to, or is this just something that I speak?
The general preference is that you make a comment so we don't end up in a back and forth, but I'll answer a question.
Fair enough. So my question is if the current motion doesn't pass, if it can be remade. So someone could nominate the same person again a second time if the current motion doesn't pass.
I would consider a motion that has been defeated, and then I would consider a motion that was made that has already been defeated to be out of order.
Duly noted. That defeats my request. I was going to ask if this motion could be passed over and we could have a motion for Joey Dastro just so that we could have a resolution on a public manner of our questions and hear what the council has to say about Joey Dastro and whether or not what your considerations would be of him. I think that would be more satisfying.
Right, so I think we've had a misunderstanding. What I understood you were asking was, could this current motion be repeated? And this current motion could not be repeated.
Mm-hmm.
Could, if this motion fails, another motion be made to appoint another person?
No,
Yes.
I'm wondering if, for the sake of those council members who want this current appointee to be appointed, if that could be set aside for a moment and we could consider Joey Dasher in a more formal manner. But if that's not a possible request, then I will cede my time.
Yeah, unfortunately, the way that the rules that we are governed by allow for a motion to be made, and then that motion has to be considered up or down. And I am, of course, this is the space for consideration on the whole matter. And so comments to be made or engaged in favor of another candidate, or really any candidate, I'm open to hear, regardless of how this motion proceeds. So if other members of the public, or if indeed other members of council in their comments wish to evaluate sort of the process of the motion as a whole, I'm not sure if that's exactly in order, but I will tolerate it this evening.
Duly noted. Thank you for allowing me to ask my questions.
Of course.
President Council, I
Yes.
think the lady in the wheelchair would like to make a...
how that's going to work.
Do we have a microphone that we can place down on the, I mean, if we can run one of ours down.
I don't want to be a bother.
Oh my God, you're not a bummer. Hold on.
I think we could probably
Okay.
unplug that one and then put it down there. Yeah. Just plug it into the front so that it reaches. Oh, it's not the long one. We normally have a...
Honestly, it's our fault for not being better prepared.
No, you're totally fine. Do you want me to?
Pardon me?
You're good. Well, real close and personal right now. Hi, Kathleen Rivera, 900 block of East Fulton Street. I would also just like to join the group of people promoting Joey Dastra. I know that Ms. Walsh has a lot of experience that you guys are really interested in, but I have seen Mr. Dastra strive. I saw him when he was running for council earlier. You will not find someone more passionate with as much love for Lancaster as Mr. Dastra. He has worked to educate himself on those issues. If you want somebody who has education on housing, he will go find a book and he will do the work that needs to get done for the city because he truly believes and cares for the city. And Ms. Walsh might have great, more education and more background, and I know that Mr. Dastra is very young, and that could be something that in your consideration sort of held you back from that, but I believe that that is one of his strengths, that he has so much passion and he has so much time to give this city and to really work with you guys, and he has a perspective that is very unique. As he is only 22, he already has those concerns, and he is looking out for the future of Lancaster in a way that maybe not other people like Mrs. Walsh would be able to see. Thank you. That was all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
I might need help getting back there, actually. So she's got me.
Okay.
Thank you. I can't turn it on.
Counselor Diaz?
I would like to also make a motion.
Oh, we actually have to resolve the existing.
Motion?
Yep. And so I will take discussion first from Counselor Garcia Molina. And wait, hold on, pause. I'm so sorry. Unless, of course, Counselor Diaz, your motion is a motion to table, because that can be made, or amend, because that can be made in the midst of a motion. And then the tabling or the amendment would have to be resolved before the primary motion could be resolved.
So I'd like to make a motion to table this because we do have two other candidates that I feel would, not only do they have the background and the education, but also the diversity in that we have not had in city council ever.
Yes, Counselor Diaz, table to what date, given that, yeah.
We have to look at the 30.
So you don't have to, actually, nope, you could ostensibly table this motion indefinitely because another motion can then be made, unless I'm incorrect, Mr. Harris?
I believe you can table it indefinitely.
Okay, yep, so you do not need a date. All that is needed to proceed is a second. Okay, in that instance, the motion to table does not receive a second, unless counselors, one more time? And therefore, I need a better word than dies, but the motion does not proceed. Counselor Garcia Molina, you were?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to speak to the two individuals that were being talked about at the moment. So I think that what was said before me around Mr. Dastra is appropriate. I think that's one of the things I was very excited about being on council, is to be someone that was young with that perspective and for progressive values. But I think something that's not really being spoken about is Ms. Walsh's kind of commitment to this community. I've had the opportunity to work with her for the past several years, and I haven't met someone who was so dedicated about making sure that everyone was aligned on the vision and then implementing that vision. And particularly, I serve on the board of one of the organizations that she leads around affordable housing. And I think that commitment is very clear to me. And I think that she not only has the technical knowledge around affordable housing, she's definitely dedicated to making sure that we actually are implementing that in ways that are sustainable. So I just wanted to make sure that we all are kind of working with that base of knowledge, that not only does she have the technical knowledge and the experiences, but she's someone who is committed to the work. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
My name is Pamela Craddock Lilith, and I was one of the applicants for the position. And first of all, I don't envy you for the decision that you had to make. There were so many qualified individuals. But I will say I was rooting for Ms. Walsh after I heard her interview. I think she is the most qualified person for this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Craddock. Are there other comments from the public or council for that matter? Please.
Hello, my name is Monica Domensik. I just wanted to briefly note, and I live on the 400 block of Fremont. I just wanted to briefly note that I put support for Joey Dastra and that I would be interested in seeing the work he would do throughout the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Other comments from the public or from council? Other comments from the public or from council? Hi. Can we bring a, do we have something we can bring to?
I hope we have a way to like do it remotely.
Also.
I am Patricia Shorn, homeless,
Good
and
evening.
I want to put in and vote for Mrs. Walsh about affordable housing.
Ms. Shorn, I'm so sorry. Can you, I want to ask you to remove your mask. Can you pull down your scarf and lean in a little bit? It's
Sure.
just, the sound's getting eaten. Thank you.
Patricia Shorn, homeless, and we would like to support Mrs. Walsh.
Thank you.
Yes.
So Beta Rosa, 100 block of West Lemon Street.
Good evening.
I would like to just vocalize my support for Joey Dastra. I'm not always trying to advocate for white men in positions of power, but I would just like to highlight that he's a great young and progressive candidate and that I support him all the way. I've known him for years and his whole platform would bring a fresh perspective, I think, to the council currently. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabeda. Are there any other comments from council or the public? Are there any other comments from council or the public? I'm going to ask one more time. Are there any other comments from council or the public? Oh.
Ole Hong Van Thong, 519 Spruce Street. I've been a landlord for 5 years. I've been an advocate for affordable housing. Our rental units are under what our community considers affordable housing. I've been fortunate to have tenants that have become homeowners from the plans that we've created to allow them to save money, become homeowners. I believe you do need a council that pushes for affordable housing, but you forget that affordable housing can only be made if you have a council individual that can network with landlords that can make that possible. I have a connection with all the landlords within the community, and that will create the dialogue that you would need to make it possible. I do believe that I am the best candidate based off of my connections with the residents plus the individuals that can make what you feel affordable housing is your main initiative. I'm not the type of individual that likes to share my personal traits. I believe that I just do the work. So I'm not going to share, like I didn't share my experience in advance because the questions weren't addressed to me. I answered the questions that were addressed to me. But if you're saying affordable housing is your main concern, I've been doing that work for the past 5.5 years. And, you know, we've just moved in our own space at 114 East Chestnut Street, and we've been able to create a collective of spaces for creatives and individuals. And that's our main objective, is to continue to have ownership for people that look like us and then provide affordable housing, affordable workspace for our entire community. You have individuals here tonight supporting Joey, and I commend those individuals that are here because Joey's having those conversations. but I'm also having the same conversations with creatives and individuals that live within our community. But I'm just not here to tell you that. But if you're asking for that experience, I have that experience. So that's my time.
Thank you. Are there any other? Yep.
Good evening. My name is Irene Grievous, and I'm also a landlord. And my concern is we talk about affordable housing, yet there's so many properties that are being condemned and the city making it almost impossible to find affordable housing. Certain people of color, certain people of races are deliberately being pushed out in efforts to bring a more wealthy for the redevelopment in Lancaster City, which makes it almost impossible to find housing, which leads to my next question. How many properties in the city of Lancaster have been condemned in the past couple of years?
Ms. Grievous, is this comment going to dovetail with the council nomination at some point?
No, it's just a general question. It has nothing to do with me.
Then it needs to wait for the second public comment period at the end of the meeting.
Oh, my apologies.
You're just fine. Thank you, Ms. Grievous. Are there any other public comments or comments from council on the motion to appoint?
I do have a question. In regards to Katie Walsh, did she speak to any of the council members prior to? Did she have questions given to her prior to coming to city council in front of us?
So there's two questions there. My understanding is that Ms. Walsh, along with several of the other applicants, did make contact with one or more council members. To my knowledge, no questions were shared with any of the applicants beforehand. I, of course, cannot speak for any member of council, but I don't believe that anyone sitting on this dais would do that either. That's my answer to the question. Other councilors may answer as they like.
Council President,
Please.
just in response to that question, several applicants, a number of them made contact with me prior to the interviews, and at no time did I share any questions that I was planning to ask any applicant with any person.
Council President.
Councilor Craig.
Thank you. I'd like to ditto what Councilor Bakay has said. Several applicants did contact me. I spoke with several of the applicants, and at no time did I give them any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. A few applicants, contacted me, and I had the opportunity to talk to only one of them, but I didn't share any information to anybody. Some of them contacted me through emails, but I didn't share any information with anybody.
Council President,
Councilor
just
Arroyo.
echo what my council colleagues have said. A few council candidates did reach out to me to learn more about the council role and what city council does for the city, but at no time did I share any information or questions ahead of time to any of the candidates.
Are there any other questions or comment from council or the public?
Hello, I'm Draven Andreessen, 139 College Avenue. I would just like to vocalize my support for Joey Dastra as somebody who has gotten to pick his brain about many topics that affect our community beyond affordable housing. I believe that having a third-party candidate is very important for the progress that I would personally like to see, and I think many others in this room would like to see. happen. And I believe that although he may not have the same experience, he does have the right vision in mind. And I fully support the notion that having somebody who is within the community and knows the roots of it and starting from the ground up is extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Julie Zag. I'm also from the 400 block of Fremont Street. I'd like to vocalize my support for Joey Dastra, and I'd also like to suggest that the candidate who seems to enjoy the favor of more of the present members, that we've seen already in this meeting that individuals can be appointed to committees to actually fill a need where expertise is required. But when it comes to sitting on the city council, I think a person who has a broad reach in the community would be better to sit in that seat. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from council or the public? The man himself.
Joey Dastra, 100 block of North Plum Street. I apologize. I just started Invisalign today, so I'm still getting used to speaking properly. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that came here to support me, especially to those who made a public comment. I didn't ask any of you to comment on my behalf, but I really appreciate that. And I would also like to say that I know for a fact there are people watching at home that would also love to make a comment and they are not able to. And so regardless of who's appointed to council and how this all plays out, I would like to see a process put in place so that way people watching who aren't in the room can participate at the same level as everyone else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from council or the public?
Oh, Amber Bird, 800 block of Stoughton Place. I was hoping I was going to make it up here before he did, but another one in support of Joey Dastra. I think what he came up here and said was a great example of exactly why he should be on the council. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from council or the public? Are there any other comments from council or the public? Are there any other comments from council or the public? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. Excuse me. Mr. Royo.
Aye.
Ms. Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Kalexty?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Before I make my, my vote, I was really looking at Olay and also Charlotte, who has a very strong background in public works, and she's an engineer. So at this time, I'm going to say nay.
And President Smith-Waydell?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The motion carries. First and foremost, Ms. Walsh, congratulations. Second, and before I give a break to the meeting, there's no good way, I think, to say, to really articulate the space of preferences and how we do that. So I think in the sort of shotgun barrel sort of motion, second, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's my hope that council that we would explore some different options in the future, but also that we ought to, whatever process we wish to go through in the future, that we might make it a rule by resolution where the law provides virtually no guidance whatsoever. The candidates here tonight represent a really incredible cross-section of Lancaster. And while I will remain silent about my specific preference, it's my honor to support the will of council. And so, at our second meeting, Ms. Walsh, you will be seated as a member of this council to fill the unexpired term. Those of you who also applied, please expect a communication from me or my office, as well as a list of the boards, commissions, and authorities that that may become open in this first quarter. Again, I'd sincerely urge the Personnel Committee and the mayor to take a look at these individuals. I cannot, up here, advocate for a particular political party or political vote, but I would encourage anybody who is interested in serving to contact the political entity of their choice. As we now know, in Lancaster, you have a suite of options, and get engaged with how to run for council in the next cycle. This is an unexpired term, and 2 years from now, that seat will come open along with 2 other seats on city council, will be up for election. Whether there will be open or there will be incumbents, I will not know. But just want to make everyone aware and encourage them to continue to pursue whatever their vision for the city is. Okay, I have talked long enough this evening. We're going to take a 5-minute break in the meeting with council's forbearance, if anybody would like to take this time to leave City Hall.
You're pretty good. Oh my god. I think I should have a drink tonight. But
Where do you think I go after meetings?
Yeah, I am. Are these gonna listen? I was like, no, I don't think I will.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, she is.
Or maybe I haven't.
Everyone would please take their seats. Good evening and welcome back. Okay. We will now proceed with our legislative agenda. Historic District, Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. Considering the following applications and recommendations from the Historical Architectural Review Board for improvements to properties within the Historic District. First tonight is Andrea Lohman, owner of 225 North Concord Street, requests installation of solar panels on the front roof of a modern garage addition to the main house. Second is Ray Stolzfus, owner of 418 Poplar Street, requests replacement of a wooden front entry door with a new fiberglass door. And last is Robert Radicevich, owner of 39 North Lime Street, and he requests installation of new handrails on front entry steps. And these applications are all recommended for approval by the Historical Architectural Review Board.
Motion to approve?
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Yeah, and a second on the three recommendations from the Historical Architecture Review Board. Council comments? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris?
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Beke.
Aye.
Mr. Kolexty.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Okay, that brings us to ordinances for first reading. Please be aware if you're following along on your agenda, we will not be taking up administration resolutions 14, 15, and 16 this evening. That's under heading E, resolutions. Sorry, I was unclear. Ordinances for first reading, Administration Bill number 2, 2022. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, amending Chapter 285 of the Code of the City of Lancaster, Vehicles and Traffic, to increase parking meter rates and to establish the procedure for changing parking meter rates, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with Pennsylvania law. The title, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilor Beke.
Thank you very much, Council President. We initially discussed a proposal for this ordinance during the Finance Committee meeting in January. And then again, last evening, this was brought forward as an ordinance, which we discussed. Mr. Cohen from the Parking Authority provided a presentation on the rates and reasons behind the increase, and also efforts for outreach in the downtown district and to residents.
Council comments? From the public?
Yeah, Scott Seuss to the 300 block of North Queen Street. I'm under the impression that they were looking to raise the rates $2 per hour.
Councilor Beke, can you?
Yes, the ordinance proposes a rate of, an increase of $1 for on-street parking meter rates.
And the purpose of this is to increase turnover of parking?
That was part of the presentation that Mr. Cohen provided, yes.
Okay. I'm just going by what I read in the paper. I'm sorry, but as a merchant on the 300 block, I don't see a need for increased turnover of parking spaces. Is that usually during the day, there's always a parking space available. And when you go to the kiosk to pay, and a lot of people don't carry around cash. I don't carry around cash. A lot of people don't pay cash. And if you increase the rate, people have to come up with more cash. But if they go to pay with a credit card, it defaults to the full 2 hours. So now instead of people coming up to shop for, oh, I need to park for 30 minutes, I got a credit card, $3 may be acceptable. $5, that's just outrageous. I mean, I can't see them doing that. And if you're saying that, trying to encourage people to use parking garages as being just as a viable source for being away, well, if the streets are full, the parking garage is a block away. If it's so convenient, they can move up there to park. But as a merchant, I'm concerned that this is going to be counterproductive to trying to bring people downtown to park. And if they have to come up with more money, maybe they're more likely, I've got enough change in my pocket for 30 minutes right now, more likely to get a ticket, That's the biggest gripe we have from customers, is they're so aggressive with giving tickets out that you get tickets, I mean, I can understand if people aren't paying for parking, they get a ticket. But so many times they're in our store, they're doing what we want them to do. They're shopping, they're in our store shopping, and they missed it by 5 minutes. Boom, parking ticket, and that's just unnecessary. I also, as a contractor, spend a lot of time parking jobs on Orange Street and Lime Street, where, I'm not going to haul my materials in and out of the car 2 blocks to avoid the parking meter, but there's always parking whenever I go in those places. I do a lot of work on Orange Street and Lime Street. I never have a problem finding a parking space. To increase parking rates, it's just going to be more coming out of my pocket. So I really question the necessity and the motivation behind doing this. Again, I'm only speaking from what I read in the paper, but I find it should really be considered what it's going to do to the merchants and what's downtown, and not just what's going to benefit the parking authority. That's my 2 cents, so to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Ziffer, I'm the 300 block of North Queen Street, so I will be probably redundant and reiterate what Mr. Seuss said. My wife's been a merchant on the block for 34 years now. The biggest complaint always from people coming in to shop, and recurring and new customers, is the parking. Not only just the rates, but also how egregious I think the people who give the tickets out can be. They seem to be hiding in the bushes sometimes. And so $1 is a huge increase. Reiterate what Mr. Seuss said. It doesn't make sense. You're going to drive out businesses. So unless you're willing to set aside a sinking fund to pay for the bankruptcies and for the moving out costs of the businesses in the city, okay, which would be tragic, and you're not going to do that, you better think seriously about what you're doing. Now, I don't know, I should have reviewed the numbers. I don't know, what the annual debt service costs are going to be on the new parking garage, and whether we have to raise rates to pay for the new monolith parking garage on the second block of North Queen Street. But, to bludgeon the retailers, and that's what you're doing if you raise the rates again, and keep people out of the city from shopping, you guys wouldn't have a job, because without the city merchants, really, okay, we really don't have a city. And they're not just going to go to the parking garages. And I agree with Mr. Seuss. I'm there all day long out on Queen Street and walking around, because I walk my dog 4 times a day. The 300 block of North Queen Street, the 200 block of North Queen Street and the surrounding areas are not that busy, okay? Parking is at a premium during the holidays, but otherwise it's not. So it's really kind of tragic, I think, if you do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ziffer. Mr. Dastra?
Oh, somebody else, go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Nope, I did not see you, ma'am, please.
That's okay. That's because I was behind the podium. Hi, I'm the wife, Karen Meacham, Art and Glassworks. And I have to say that since 2016, when they installed the parking kiosk, it has been very different shopping in the city. And my customers are irritated, not with you, but more with me, because they think I should change the way the parking meters work. And we know I can't do that. Unfortunately, when they started this parking authority thing, they started on the 300 block, and they brought it in, and the way it worked first is they painted numbers on the sidewalk and on the street. And the first year, it snowed. and nobody could feed the meters, so everybody got a ticket. That was in 2016. And I've seen a gradual decrease in shopping in my store, to the point of, in the last 3 years, in 2017 and 18, I decided to just be open on weekends because there was almost nobody there during the week. It is totally nobody on the block. They have changed the sizes in 2016. They changed the sizes of our parking spaces to 19 feet 6 inches. If you go through the city, which I did with my tape measure, and measured all of the spaces, the whole entire block of this 300 block was started first, so they could give more tickets. They made more spaces because we had more customers. And they did give more tickets to people. They even came to the block and gave tickets at 5:45 because that's when the restaurants start getting busy, and so they would get tickets then. I've actually taken pictures of them doing that and put it on Facebook. You know, a fair share of paying parking would be great. How about we start enforcing the parking meters later at night when all the restaurants are getting all their business, but you don't want to lose those restaurants in the city. You're going to lose all the people who have storefronts. We can't afford it anymore. It's crazy. It is nuts. So since 2016, I've lost a tremendous amount of my business. And then we add COVID to it, and so people are shopping more and more online. They don't need to come to our stores except to just have something to do. And they're not buying anything. They're just having a time out for the day. And therefore, that is why I have decided to be open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and by appointments all the other times. And I opened on Sundays back in 2001, I think, because it was free parking, because they started to do parking on Saturdays. And I understand we need that money. We really do, as a city. So, and another thing I think we need to do, if you're going to do whatever you're going to do, you need to put some kind of thing around the parking meters because it is so cold and so hard for people to feed money in the meter with the wind blowing so hard. Okay, and those parking meters, they don't work all the time. Yesterday I had, or I think it was Saturday, a lady come in and I had to go to 2 different ones, one across the street and one in front of my store, and it didn't work. And so they put a sign on the customer put a sign on their car, and I approached the girl who writes the ticket. She says, well, you can go down there and get a parking meter. And I'm like, oh my God, it's unfortunate. It's not very user-friendly for a city, and unfortunately, people think it's me who does that. So, I mean, it's really bad.
Thank you, Ms. Meacham.
Okay.
Mr. Dastra.
Tony Dastra, 700 block of New Holland Avenue. So I understand, and I told you guys yesterday how I feel about this. In fact, it's quite in contrast to at least what I heard from coming back in the doorway. I understand the public's apprehension to a parking increase. However, did you know that 90% of vehicular travel, for example, starts and ends in a suburb? I find it problematic that we get up in arms about increasing the rates of parking meters when, like, what are we doing as a local economy to attract pedestrians, for example? But let's detract away from pedestrians for a moment, because this, like, I get really heated about these issues because cars really are cluttering up the community, and I understand that we get frustrated when we get a ticket. And you know, it might suck when we park somewhere at 5:45 and then we get a ticket. Unfortunately, that's also what happens during enforcement. If we see a pattern of something and if we believe it to enforce it, then we do so. But it's amazing to me that we have this conversation, we'll even bring up the 200 block of North Queen Street. And we have a transit system. Our community completely ignores the fact that we have people who should, like, is the notion that we're communicating when we get up here and oppose this that only people with cars can afford to shop at these stores? Like, That's almost baffling to me. If we're not attracting the people who live in the city, who do not need a car to walk to that business, what does it say about that business? There are businesses who have plenty of traffic from inside the city. So, as distasteful as it is, and I'm starting a new political party, and I'm over here advocating on a very unpopular position, but frankly, like I said yesterday, I do not believe this increase is dramatic enough. And this isn't about the money. It's about trying to allow for the attrition of vehicles in our societies. We're not here to ban cars, but cars are an expensive burden. Parking as a premium, that access, that should cost more. Because yeah, we have parking garages, and yeah, we don't necessarily like to use them. That's also why they should be cheaper, as they will be. And so, yeah, I understand this is not a topic that we love to discuss, and this is a very unpopular position to take, but I do believe that in the regards of what we're talking about, our local downtown economy, raising the parking rates for on-street parking is a sensible choice and will not lead to these disastrous consequences that we believe them to have. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Dastra. Ms. Lopez.
Jessica Lopez, 437 East Marion Street. And, love Joey, our shops downtown, whatever the case may be. But as a single poor mom in Lancaster City, I'm not concerned. It doesn't concern me why our shops downtown don't stay open, because Mr. Dastra's right. They're not really for us. But at the same time, I don't believe we should raise the parking rates, because there's a lot of things downtown that we have to get to as residents of this city that we already are paying out our taxes for. So it's like, I can't run into somewhere for 20 minutes without spending $3 to park a vehicle. I can't go stop and get my kids' glasses without paying $5 if we raise this. We don't have the money to live in our homes as it is. We don't have the money to keep our water on, to keep our lights on. We're coming up with all these programs to bail us out of all these different things, and then all these ordinances to get the money that we're trying to actually put forth towards our bills. There's people that live in this city. It's not about the township people. And that's the problem that our city has. We're so focused on our township people coming to shop. We're so focused on them having events. There's people that live here, that work here, that are downtown trying to pay for homes that they can't afford because we don't have real affordable housing. So I hope in the next year we get some. But it's ridiculous that we can spend all our time worrying about the parking downtown and raising the parking downtown for an authority that is outside of our authority, who can incarcerate us in debtors' prisons for not being able to afford parking tickets for parking we can't afford. It just doesn't make sense to us, and we need to figure out how to get our money somewhere else. There shouldn't be no reason why you have to pay $3 to take your kid to the library. Why is there a parking meter at the public library in the parking lot? Like, that makes no sense to us. You don't want our kids to learn? We got to pay $5 for our kids to go read a book? Like, it's getting ridiculous where these things are being implemented at, where they're planted at, and the way this is being raised. Like, it shouldn't. No, it should not go up to $5 until we can pay our rents around here. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion on that one.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Any other comments from the public? Okay. That is for first reading, so we will then proceed, barring any other comments from council, we will then proceed to Administration Bill number 3, 2022. Mr. Harris.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, amending Chapter 5 of the Code of the City of Lancaster, Administrative Departments and Bureaus, Article 1, Section 5.1 and 5.2, to reference the Department of Neighborhood Engagement, and Article 3 to establish the Department of Neighborhood Engagement, to define its subordinate functional areas, to report to appropriate authorities, boards, and commissions, and to transfer areas of responsibility to such department, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with Pennsylvania law.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. So this one's got my name on it. I'll pass it off to the mayor and to Millsy briefly. But if what Mr. Harris read aloud was not clear to you, this would make neighborhood engagement its own department within the organizational hierarchy of the city of Lancaster, instead of being part of the mayor's office. And presumably, Ms. Carrasco, Millsy would continue her admirable work in that department. Mayor, Director?
I think I'll just say that as part of the third-class optional charter, we have the opportunity to create new departments. As you know, this was a vision that I had when I ran for mayor, was to have an office of neighborhood engagement, and that office was established within the umbrella and under the umbrella of the mayor's office. This administration bill would establish a department of neighborhood engagement, and it really is in recognition of the contributions of the Office of Neighborhood Engagement, not just as it relates to the work that Director Carrasco has conducted over the last 4 years within that office, but also in relation to the other departments across the city. The city of Lancaster has been doing a level of community engagement around the comprehensive plan, around the addition of a housing social worker, around every public works project of significance, and we have been leaning on Director Carrasco to help us with those efforts across all of our departments and bureaus. And so this is really institutionalizing the work that has been created and providing a recognition that the role has expanded to include the Lancaster Office of Promotion and the Visitors Center, as well as the 11 vistas that are joining the city of Lancaster to support those engagement efforts across all of our departments and bureaus over the next several years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity and really the vision to establish our department. Thank you, Council, for this opportunity to be here with you tonight and to discuss establishing the Department of Neighborhood Engagement. As the Mayor mentioned, in 2018, the Mayor had a vision of connecting city government to the community that it served, to increase really the connectedness and the transparency and equity in government planning. The last 3 years, as I mentioned last night, we focused on understanding what our residents and partners needed, and really what we found was there was 5 major focus areas: neighborhood pride and connectedness in our neighborhoods, safety, the quality of the streets, housing, and access to resources. From that information, we created community grants that you guys are all familiar with here on council. And really, and internally, so outwardly in the community, we developed programming. Internally, we identified opportunities for staffing and programming to continue the connectedness for residents by creating a housing social worker program, assisting with the water utility assistance program, and an emergency housing fund, to name a few. The last year, we've been really focused on onboarding and training, and now we have a team, as the Mayor mentioned. Can you imagine a year ago to where we are today? It's been really a true privilege and an extraordinary opportunity for our community here in the city and the team that we're working with. As I mentioned last night, the future of Done is really to utilize our tools, and we're going to be really focused on this, on increasing engagement for our residents, developing that citywide engagement plan, and really developing a department that's world-class in engagement. We want to be known as the ultimate engaged city in the nation, and be the model for our residents, stakeholders, and other cities. I want to thank the executive leadership team for supporting our department and progress. Really, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the support of our team here internally, our residents to continue to push us to do better work and ask for more change than the status quo. And we know that there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And finally, the DUN team, the Department of Neighborhood Engagement team, that's completely committed to doing this work. I thank you, council, for considering this opportunity to establish our department. And that's what I have. So thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, Director. Other council comments? From the public?
Tim Stuhlder, One United Lancaster. Is there a financial impact to doing this? And if so, what is it?
There is no financial impact to do this except the time that we are taking to do it.
Mr. Dastra? Unless, okay, yep.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. You're fine. Thank you. Have a good evening.
To your point, I won't take too much time on this. Y'all remember me getting heated last year, so I want to say thank you for making this official. I think it's well needed. Thank you, Ms. Carrasco. You're the coolest. And yeah, that's it. No more time.
Any other comments from the public? Okay. Provided there are no other comments from council, we will move to Administration Bill number 4, 2022. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Mr. President. An ordinance of the Council of the City of Lancaster, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, accepting the offer of dedication of a right-of-way in the form of a deed from UPMC Pinnacle Lancaster for a portion of Marietta Avenue fronting Grantor's real property known as 210 College Avenue, offered for dedication in connection with a final subdivision plan and placing the same on the official map and declaring it open to public use.
Councilor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. And this is up for first reading tonight, correct? So we will be taking no action on it today. The City of Lancaster Planning Commission requires as a condition of plan approval that UPMC convey to the City of Lancaster a right-of-way in the form of a deed in and to the portion of land located within Marietta Avenue and located within the city. UPMC has agreed to dedicate such right-of-way in the form of a deed. Council has received satisfactory assurance that the City Planning Commission finds that the annex deed meets the condition of approval. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Before I proceed to council comments, staff, anything burning on this?
Good evening, councilors and mayor. I'll just add that this is a very small area on Marietta Street that's being dedicated. It really is just to clean up the land record. A portion of the parcel juts out into the intersection, 100 square feet or so. I don't know the exact measurements, but if you need, I can look that up. It was inspected and is in good condition, and the city's engineering department is ready to receive that as part of our public right-of-way. It includes a little bit of sidewalk, curb, and a stormwater inlet, and a portion of Marietta Ave.
Thank you. Sure. Council comments? From the public? Okay. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Councilor Craig. As was said, this is for first reading, so there's no action to be taken, which moves us to subheading E, resolutions. As I mentioned, Resolution 14, 15, and 16 will not be considered this evening. We begin with Administration Resolution Number 10, 2022. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster approving the adoption of an amendment to the Act 537 Official Sewage Facilities Plan for the City of Lancaster.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilor Craig.
Thank you. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection required that the municipality to adopt an official sewage facility plan, providing for the services adequate to prevent contamination of waters of the Commonwealth and/or environmental health hazards with sewage waste, and to amend when necessary to assure there is adequate sewage disposal. And I don't have anything else to add to that, and do I need to? Okay. Thank you, Council President. That's it.
Great. Council comments on the resolution? Comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Beke.
Aye.
Mr. Kolexty.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Thank you. Administration Resolution Number 11, 2022. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster accepting an automated red light enforcement grant of $235,250 from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation to be used for intersection improvements at South Queen and Farnham Streets.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We don't have a Director. Oh, yes, I don't know why I didn't see you, Director Campbell. If you would please be so kind.
Yes, thank you very much. As described last night, this is a resolution to be able to accept a grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation in the amount of just over $235,000 to do safety improvements and pedestrian safety improvements at the intersection of Farnham and South Queen Street. This is an opportunity where the city only provides $40,000, which leverages the $352,000, or basically leverages 6 times the amount of money that would it otherwise do. This is for curb bump outs. It's addressing a situation on a high injury network intersection, which is very close to an early education center, Carter McRae Elementary, and other facilities throughout the city that serve the elderly as well as other pedestrians. This is a site that had been identified a number of years ago as a dangerous site, and even before the Vision Zero program was put in place, it had been noted, but because it is also on the high injury network, it ranked higher in importance to be able to get addressed. So this, in fact, is one of the first high injury network intersections that are being addressed officially under the Vision Zero program. The design work will be going on during fiscal '22, and the construction work would be intended to be commenced and completed in 2023.
Thank you. Council comments?
If I may, Council President?
Please.
I just want to say thank you to Mr. Campbell and his team. I think it's always a gut check whenever we see the price tag for some of these improvements that happen throughout the city. So just want to thank you and your team that consistently look for other opportunities to fund our city, but still make sure that it's safe for everyone. So thank you.
Other council comments?
President, Mayor?
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell, because I know that there has been a lot of accidents and fatal accidents in those areas, and even myself, I try to avoid that area because of the traffic there.
Thank you, Councilor. Other council comments? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Bakay.
Aye.
Mr. Clexty.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Thank you. That brings us to Administration Resolution Number 12, 2022. Mr. Harris?
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster exonerating 2021 water charges in the amount of $626.08, and sewer charges in the amount of $55,506.56 for city-owned or related properties at 27 locations.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilor Bakay?
Thank you very much. So the title of the resolution is very straightforward. This is a step that we take annually to exonerate the water and sewer charges each year for city-owned properties. In this case, this is for water and sewer charges in 2021. Unless Mr. Hopkins has anything additional to add, that is all.
Thank you, Councilor Bakay. Just because I get questions about this every time we do it, to be clear, the action we're taking is so that we are not paying ourselves for water and sewer costs that we incur at our own buildings. So to eliminate the need to move money from one bank account in the city to another to no ultimate effect, we have to take this step. Other council comments? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Bakay.
Aye.
Mr. Clexty.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Mr. Harris, skipping what's listed on the agenda as resolutions number 14, 15, and 16, does the resolution to appoint Ms. Allwine to the zoning hearing board become council resolution number 14?
It does, Mr. President.
All right, council resolution number 14, Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster appointing Michaela Allwine, 657 West Chestnut Street, as a member of the City of Lancaster Zoning Hearing Board to fill an unexpired term until December 31st, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilor Calixte.
I don't really have anything to say about this resolution. It's just a resolution to appoint Mrs. Michaela Allwine to fill an unexpired term until December 31st, 2022. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Other council comments? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Bakay.
Aye.
Mr. Clexty.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. That concludes for the evening our legislative agenda, bringing us to our second public comment period. The rules are, as always, 3 minutes. Start with your name and address. Keep it to the point. Have at. Ms. Lopez. I see you, Mr. Ziffer and Mr. Dastra.
Jessica Lopez, 437 East Marion Street, and I want to speak to you about an issue that wasn't addressed tonight. It's come to the community's attention that we are making a decision on whether we are going to bring county judges in to oversee our magisterial district courts for the city. And this has become a big concern for a lot of people in our community. So I would like to read to you a call to action that TCP Network put out today, and ask you that you take consideration of the residents in your city that are calling for this action and join us in this action. President Judge David Ashworth has proposed that for Lancaster City, in order to make a judicial hearing more equitable, he has proposed to the state Supreme Court that county judges come into the city of Lancaster to hear and try these cases. Please email them today and tell them, no, you do not support President Judge Ashworth's plan. for county judges to come into the city and hear our cases. Let him know we want to vote for a new district judge for our community. It is feeling as if Lancaster City does not know how to define democracy. And it is feeling as if we are not getting the choice in our elected officials at this point. We just watched, and this was a perfect example for this situation. We just watched a whole room of people speak on something that they wanted to see happen. They wanted to see Joey Dasher be an appointed official. We feel as if we're not being heard. We voted on district justices, and now they're going to overstep us and bring in county judges who do not represent our community, who do not represent our demographic, who are conservative Mennonite judges and cannot proceed over our city that they do not understand or live in. It is truly sounding like a setup to feed the mass incarceration that already exists. We're building a new prison and we're bringing in county judges to oversee and make decisions over people they do not understand or live around. It sounds like a complete setup, and the city is not happy with it. I've been watching conversations for the last 2 days about this. Nobody wants to see this transpire. And I urge our council members to be productive members of our city and speak for us, advocate with us, and let it be heard that we don't want this. And if you bring in county judges, it's going to be a big problem for the residents in our city who are already being targeted and harassed, who are already going through so much. We have a lot of citations and a lot of cases in our magisterial district courts because we have a lot of harassment and we have a lot of targeting from our police officers. We have minority establishments that can't be open for more than 2 hours without residents causing noise nuisances and business owners being cited when there's no real issues. My 3 minutes are almost up, but I really urge that you do not allow this to happen. I get that we come up here and we say these things and we get overstepped all the time. And this should not be something we're overstepped on.
Ms. Lopez, what I will say to you is a few years, I think we all recall this, a few years back, there was an effort to essentially eliminate the district court, which is now presided over by Judge Jody Richardson. It was a different president judge at that time, but the methodology, tactic, and ultimate impact is the same. And if it is any consolation, balm, or encouragement, if I recall correctly, the entire community room of San Juan Bautista was packed with folks in opposition, and the president judge retracted his plan. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is set up so that communities at least elect their own magisterial district judges. We form a distinct community, and each of the areas, each of the districts within the city that is presided over by a judge forms a distinct community. And so to the degree that it's relevant, I'm happy to go on record, and I assume the rest of council is, in saying that our judges should be elected by our people.
Yes, I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to open the floor for us to have another judge that looks and thinks like we do, as Jody Richardson does. And she is one of the only the only magisterial district judge in the city that reflects us. For real, she's the only woman of color, she's the only person of color that holds that seat. And this is the opportunity for somebody else to be able to step up and take that seat. Add another district court. Don't bring in county judges. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. I think I saw you first, Mr. Ziffer, and then Mr. Dastra.
Good evening again. Gary Ziffer from the 300 block of North Queen Street. Hadn't planned to speak tonight, but after events this weekend, I'm going to. Here to express my continued disappointment in the city administration failing to enforce the ordinances of the city, specifically related to problems on the 300 block that you all, of North Queen Street, that you all are aware of. We now have 35, within 4 months, 35 noise ordinance violations, fighting, drug use, weapons charges. 36 now, because Sunday morning at 3 a.m., when there was a minor melee at the end of the southern end of the 300 block, and a woman had a 2x4 cracked over her head, and a dozen of the police officers and 6 vehicles showed up to deal with it, that we're being deprived, the residents and owners of the 300 block are being deprived of our right to peace and quiet and tranquility and quiet enjoyment of our property. And it's being dealt with silence, and whether something's being done or not, we don't know, so it doesn't help us. So we'd like to know, because we can't deal with this any longer. We almost had one property with a fight go through their window, another one through ours, all in one night, at all hours of the night, 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. It's absurd. And I've heard it said that the bar is too high to close businesses because of what they're doing without a BYOB license, without any real authority to open. And I don't even think they're licensed in many ways, both from a local and a state regulatory level, but they remain open. And we remain the recipients of the problems that ensue at that property. And I'll just keep coming up here and telling you that until something happens.
Thank you, Mr. Ziffer. Mr. Dastra?
Get excited. Come on. So, Tony Dastra, 700 block of New Holland Avenue. I actually want to take the moment to, this isn't particularly relevant to downtown parking, which is why I'm separating it out. I do think Ms. Lopez has a great point about what we need to do to be concerned for the people who do already park and drive within our community. Because as we continue to develop the city, there's going to be an influx of people who, like, our society is conditioned towards automobiles, desperately so. And so we really should start consider what we can do to aid our own residents who live here now currently in the process as we transition towards a more optimal society with more transportation options, better sidewalks to walk on, because it's hard when you have so many private property owners. Like I try to walk to work every day now. I actually do work on the blocks of which we speak now, thankfully. But we really should start to think outside of the box and what we can do, because it is going to be difficult. It will be painful for us to get rid of, if we will, a certain amount of vehicles, because we can't keep adding cars. We're already struggling to add housing. We just can't. In fact, there's an argument to be made that if we as a society can eliminate cars in certain areas, we can actually expand housing options and have walkable or bikeable communities in those areas. Now, I don't have anything specific to say on that matter, but I just wanted to echo what Ms. Lopez is saying on how this could affect city residents negatively, because that's how our society does work. So I do still support an increase on the issue earlier, but we do need to figure out strategies to aid city residents with their vehicle woes, because we should try to find a nice little middle ground in this difficult, arduous process of making our streets safer, because that's what it really comes down to, is the safety of our streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dastra. Are there any other public comments? Okay. Hearing none. We go now to the, is that me? Oh. We go now to the report of the mayor.
Thank you, Council President. First, I'd like to share that the Mayor's Office has welcomed Tina Campbell as the city's new Community Fund Development Manager. In her role, Tina will elevate the work of securing funds for city programs and initiatives, allowing us to continue vital work like the lead remediation efforts and kickstart other innovative efforts, and to complement capital funds like projects that routinely come before council that require or that we have secured matching funds to extend our tax dollars. We are also soon to be adding another team member to work alongside Tina as we expand our grants team and strategize how to maximize the incredible federal and state resources that are beginning to flow from the infrastructure bill and others. Additionally, as Council recognized, February is Black History Month. It is one of the few occasions throughout the year that call us to pause, reflect, and honor history so that it can lead us to a better future. Black History Month is an opportunity to reflect on the absolute gift of our Black neighbors like Addie Cunningham, Violet Milburn, and Reverend Butcher, and many others from venerable families. I call out these three in particular, and you can read more about why in a blog post that will be up tomorrow. But I've had time to spent time with Mrs. Cunningham as part of her 95th birthday celebration last month, and with the Reverend Lewis Butcher recently. And I've also honored Violet Milburn with the rejuvenation of the park that is in her name in the southeast corner of our city. But by learning our history, it can help guide our path forward, our investments, policy, and leadership. In this spirit, we've also renamed 2 schools in honor of Black women leaders, Dr. Rita Smith Waddell Elementary School and Hazel I. Jackson Middle School, honoring their legacies and providing opportunities to share their stories. And as the nation witnesses the Olympic Games, it is right to name and celebrate our own Olympic champion, Barney Ewell. Lancaster, I invite you to join me in celebrating the beauty and brilliance of Lancaster's Black history. And most of all, I invite you to take tangible action towards a more equitable Lancaster this month and all year long. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report this evening. Council comments. Okay. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.